Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over aggregates and non-aggregates in Tableau. As you can see right now, I have Tableau desktop open on my laptop. So we're going to go over that. To start off with, the question you may have is, what's the difference between an aggregate and a non-aggregate? When you aggregate something, you're taking different dimensions and then summing them or doing some type of either sum, max, min, something like that at a certain level, right? So like, for example, let's say you work at McDonald's and your manager was like, hey, I want to know what was the total sales for Sarah for the day, right? Well, Sarah's gonna have she would have taken multiple orders. So you're summing up all those transactions and giving the manager one number as opposed to maybe like 50 orders she took that day, right? That's an aggregate. A non-aggregate would have been taking those sales at the individual level, at the lowest level, right? And that is exactly what what I'm going to display today is what does that look like in Tableau so you have a firm understanding of that. It's one of the critical things in Tableau to understand. And if you don't really have that baseline understanding, it makes Tableau really difficult to use because it's like the baseline, everything kind of just layers on top of that. All right, so today we're using the sample superstores data set. It comes loaded on every Tableau desktop, so it's a pretty common one to use if you're trying to get into being a data analyst or BI or somewhere in the analytics arena. This is a good data set to learn and play around with. All right, so to show what I'm talking about, right? I'm gonna throw on location, right? And location is on the orders table, and as you can see here, it has a little hierarchy thing, right? So just in case you're not aware, I can click on it and continue to click on it, right? I can get this to region and state, right? Okay, so then let's say I throw in sales, right? Actually, I'm gonna do this as text because I want to show it to you as numbers. All right, so this is an aggregated view. Tableau automatically aggregates the sales based on the dimensions in the view. The dimensions in the view are country and region, and then state or province, right? Again, you probably got thousands of orders. Tableau's just condensing those, say, hey, this is a sum for Manitoba, Central Region, Canada, as opposed to all the transactions, right? That's really cool, right? Okay, so you're probably okay, that's cool, that's simple, anybody can do that, right? The point that I want to drive home today is, well, how do you handle conditional logic, right? Like, let's say, for example, your manager asks you, okay, hey, Sarah, I want to know, can you show me all of the regions that did less than $1,000 in sales, right? And it's very important to listen to the question being asked. They're saying $1,000, which locations, which state or provinces did less than $1,000, right? So let's do that. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna say if sales, and I'm gonna intentionally do this incorrectly just so you can get the idea of where I'm trying to go with this. Is less than 1,000. Oh, did I do that wrong? Is less than 1,000, then true. So we're gonna call those out. And then else, false. Okay, less than 1,000. All right. All right. So then we're gonna drop this onto the rows. Okay. All right. All right. So now we see we have things that don't make sense here, right? We have true for 226. Well, no, that's true. That makes sense, right? That is less than 1,000. But we also have ones like 1931 here that are less than 1,000. And you might be asking yourself, well, why is that? Why is that happening, right? That's not the response you're expecting. Well, when you open this up, this sales, Tableau did not automatically aggregate that as the sum of sales. It's just giving you the sales at the lowest grain. which can be confusing, especially if you haven't really used the data set. Like, I'm not really familiar with Superstore, so I don't really know what the lowest grain is. In a second, I'm going to show you what the lowest grain is so I can drive this point home, right? But what we can do is actually get this to work at the state of Providence. We can duplicate this, and we're going to say state. We don't like doing that. In Providence. And now we're going to take the sum of that, right? Now what's going to happen is this is going to work. This is going to work, but only, let me show you guys so it makes sense. This is going to work. See? So now we have, wait, did I do that right? Less than 1,000. Yeah, sum of sales less than 1,000. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So like this is saying false is less than 1,000. This is true, true, false. Pretty obvious. This is like actually working, right? This is driving home my point. Anything less than 1,000 is true, right? Now, what's happening is right is that the sum of sales is at the level of the view. So if I start to break down these hierarchies, you're going to see these values begin to change for the aggregated one, the one that says data, and it says aggregate here, right? These are not going to change because there are non-aggregate at the lowest grain. And watch what I mean by this. So let's pick like Manitoba. We're gonna hit, so just so you guys know, you can right click on Manitoba, hit keep only, and then we're gonna start to break this down further. Okay, we're gonna do it again. You see now how this changed, this aggregate, we have true and we have false. Let's keep going. Oh, my bad. Okay. So let's add in customer because we're not at the lowest grain yet. And this can be kind of a lot. This can kind of be a lot to kind of grasp at first, but just watch me for a second. Okay, now we're gonna add in the order ID. Let's do that because the order ID is gonna be unique, but we can have multiple products inside of the order, which is also very important, right? Okay, and then we're gonna start adding on. I think the lowest grain here is the bottom one, so we're gonna do like product name. That should work. Okay, cool, right? So now you see that the non-aggregate and the aggregate all have the same values because they're all less than true, right? But the moment I start taking away the granularity, working back up to the top as in the country region, the aggregate's going to differ because it's reported just at the country region level, where the non-aggregate is reported always at the bottom level. Let me show you guys like another example of this where it's probably like you may have some higher ones where you get like where it really becomes even more confusing. Or not necessarily confusing, but it really drives home the point. Like yeah, like this is a perfect one right here. Let's do this one. Okay. So this one here is false because it's 2003, right? So less than 2003, that makes sense, right? So it's not less than, so it's false, right? When these other ones are true. But let's say we start rolling back up the hierarchy, right? Okay, let's get rid of customer, get rid of order, product name. Okay, cool. So perfect example, right? So now you see again how these two don't blend together, right? They're not always matching. So again, this is less than 1,000 at the level of the this is non-aggregate. So it's saying false, which again that intuitively makes sense, but then you have true. That means this true is less than 1,000. Well, the reason is because you have products that were sold at the lowest green, maybe there's like 50 of these that break this down under 1,000. Where here, no, it's a coincidence. This probably is saying we only actually sold one product and it was $2,000, right? So I think that's a really important thing to really break down in Tableau, is difference between non-aggregates and aggregates and how they work and how you can get erratic responses. In our next video, what we'll do is we'll start to layer in LODs and how we can use that if logic to freeze, quote unquote, freeze data, and be able to really get like some of these numbers to freeze and be able to have a better understanding of what's going on, and kind of dealing with some of those non-aggregate versus aggregate errors. How do you conceptualize what's going on to help you with your experience with Tableau? I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Please don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you next time.